So I'm kind of in a bit of a halfway house with things that have been delivered and things that haven't been delivered. So I'm not able at the minute to get on with the job of doing all of the electrics because some of the gear's arrived, some of the gear hasn't arrived. But today I have managed to get my trim from Harrison Trim Supplies, and I'm just now on with the job of carpeting at least some of, if not all of, the panels, the ply panels that need to go back in the van. So that's the first job I'm going to do. Basically it's a contact adhesive that you get from them, and you just spray it on both the leading side of the panel and the back side of the felt, obviously. This is the 4-way stretch carpet stuff. So you then trim it around, make it fit places like that. The panels are actually damned easy to do, much more easy than the metalwork in the van. And then the next stage is to make sure you have the board the right way around, because you're actually carpeting it on the what would be the face side. So this is the back side of the board, and this is the back side of the liner, because there is a side to these liners. You get the face aside, and then you get the back side on the 4-way stretch carpet. So you get those the right way around, and then what I do is trim around some of the excess material. And what I'm doing here is just leaving about 1.5 inches all the way around. Just do that with a pair of decent sharp scissors, and the next job then is to start shaping it. So one of the things, and I'm using a really old pair of traditional fabric scissors. These are God knows how many years old. I'm imagining I bet they're about 70 years old. Those scissors been probably kicking around in the family forever. So can't really show you this, but if you imagine on the corners, they're fairly straightforward. There's a kind of almost mitre cut there when you're folding those in. These round here, these need to be just clipped in several places around with little V shapes out of them, and then you can fold them in neatly, but leave enough material so you do cover the edge of this board when you actually fold it over. So you cut up to about, I'd say maybe 4mm from the edge, and then you make those little splays, which we'll see when I've glued this on shortly. And then again, similar sort of thing for where this is obviously a concave, but similarly for the convex at the top, you'll be doing the same sort of thing on any of those. So let me have a shot at that and we'll see how that looks. So as you might be able to see, I've cut all sorts of random little bits off in certain places, corners like that. I've kind of done as kind of cutting off the corner so that when it comes over it sort of neatly makes a mitre like that, leaving enough material on the edge there so that we actually stretch that in when we're gluing it. It'll just make a little corner. I can trim some of that off if there's any extra later. These edges just can carry on as they are, just be trimmed over. Rounded up corners really in sort of the concave are a bit like that, so we'll trim all that up later when it's done. Basically that's roughly getting around there. Nooks and crannies like these are quite difficult because you've got sort of 2 or 3 different things you're trying to do at once, but again we're just basically making it so it all tucks over and around. Boards move slightly, but that's where we are. The concave bit at the bottom is actually easier than it looks, because you literally just make slots in the individual, if I just move the camera in a little bit, you make slots in the individual things like that, so that you just, when that goes around the concave bit, yes, it leaves a bit on the back, but of course you don't actually ever see the back. And again, just another sort of a neat bit there. Now lo and behold, it started to rain, so just in time I've got this finished. Basically it should look a bit like that at the back. You might be able to get it even neater than that if you spend a bit more time on it, but essentially that means the whole of the carpeted area is covered, and when we flip it over, apart from brushing off a few bits of wood, can we come out a bit here? That's as far out as we can go. Can we go out even further? No, don't think we can. So can we put that up there maybe? Something like that. So you can see you end up with a panel like that, which we'll just go into the van and have a look at. So that is the panel that I've done there in place. Obviously need to do some carpeting around that panel, on the ceiling sort of beam there, or whatever it's called, the back pillar, and then down obviously over the wheel arches and that floor area. So there's a bit of work to do. I have screwed it on rather than using those clips, and what I probably will do is one of two things. I'm just sort of using this panel a little bit at the minute to experiment. Is I can either cover those screws up with, if we just zoom right in there, you can see a screw there, look. If we can focus in on it, might not do, might struggle with all the different contrasts. But essentially what we could do with those screws, if I just come back out again, is make it so that either we cut off the top of that grey plastic clip and put that over the top of each screw, which makes it stand out, or like that screw you can see in the middle of the panel there, we can make a carpet plug and just contact adhesive that on. Now what that means is you can still see, if you look carefully, where that screw is, and therefore you know where they are for future removal, but as a general glance look, they don't stand out as much as the plastic clips do. Now what some guys do, and it's a good practice to do this too, you can just cut a little V-shaped flap out of the material, peel it back, put the screw in, put a bit of glue on and press it back in again. That's another way of doing it. But if they do that so perfectly well, you can't later on see where you've actually made those holes. So if you want to easily remove the panel, it's a bit of a faff. Whereas doing it this way with this little plug technique that I do sometimes, you can see there. Can you see it? Where is it? Where's that little plug? I'm going to bring my finger in to where that little plug is. Where's my finger? Let's try and follow my finger. And it is there. You see it now? And that little plug there is on top of a screw. So this is what I mean about using the little clips that I've got, but actually using just the heads of them and just a little bit of contact adhesive onto the head of the screw, and it holds into place quite well because it's fastened in, and it'll dry and hold better. But it actually just finishes it off in a different way. So there's the carpet plug way we showed earlier there, or there is that, if I can find it back on the camera, there is that one there, which just, you know, if all of those screws are done in that way on that panel, it'll just in theory just finish it off. And as we look at the van from here, that's with all of those clips on. So I'll come a bit nearer and you can see where I have put them, all around the edge of the door frame. Can we zoom in a bit more on one of them? Maybe. Yeah, that's the kind of thing like that. So they look like sort of slightly more sleek looking versions of the original clips, I guess. And just need to allow the contact adhesive to have a good additional drying time, probably a couple of hours just to get a full bite in there before opening and closing the tailgate wildly, and then that will do the job nicely. So the van carries on. So today I just kind of quickly show you, I'm sort of halfway through with this carpeting business, and this panel on this side I think is going to have to come off and